Hey, so I just finished up the reinstall on the Boba Fett limited edition Hunter's Creed. So here's your hilts. We have our auxiliary switch up here with a red segmented LED, and we have a dark green main switch down here. So I've actually swapped out this dark green main switch because the previous one was having issues where it was just kind of latching, it wasn't actuating properly, so I got that swapped out. So to access the chassis, it's the same way as before, just unscrew the pommel. And then we have our glitter green, Boba Fett kind of themed chassis. So we have our Proffie v2.2 here. We have the indexed stock connector up there. Got our kill switch, the Mythosaur logo, as well as the battery holder. So this battery holder is a little bit tight because of how tight the install is. So I'll go over battery insertion and removal in a second. Got our spring side over here for the negative, marked there. Got the positive button end, marked there. And we have our 28mm bass speaker. So to insert a battery, the flat side towards the spring. And like I said before, it will be a little bit tight. So I like to make sure that the battery is compressed, the spring is compressed all the way in. You might feel some friction here. That would kind of brace the chassis and then just clip it in place. And then to remove it, might be a little bit difficult. This time it's a little easier. You can either pry it from the sides. You can also try to pry up top here, although that's a little bit harder. In case where you can't really remove it, I personally like using just something non-conductive like a wooden popsicle stick. Just shim it in there, pop it up just a little bit for it to remove the battery like that. So let me pop that back in. And then flip the kill switch on.
People keep telling me they know me. I'm afraid no one does.
So because this chassis is indexed, you'll notice that there's like a hole there. You want to make sure that the chassis is aligned with one of those indexing pins in there. So how it's currently indexed right now is that I noticed that there's like a little weathering spot there. I like to align it with this groove on the speaker. So with the battery pretty much facing the buttons, insert it that way, along that groove. And then once you reach about here, the alignment is such that this kind of weathering spot aligns with this top edge of the speaker. And it might take some practice getting this. So if you're not aligned, you're not going to feel like the springs engaging on the chassis. So just make sure it's aligned with this notch up here. This notch is aligned with the top of the speaker gap there. And try to rotate it in. So right now it's slid in. I'm going to press upon the rim of the speaker, not the plastic rim, just the hard plastic edge. If I feel a little bit of a springiness, then I know the chassis is fully engaged. So I'm just going to tighten the pommel in. So like I said before, the main switch was actually switched to down here. Like so. Auxiliaries up here. I configured gesture controls, so twist off and swing on. Battle mode is off for this, so you don't need to worry about that. So the auxiliary switch, the red LED auxiliary switch, also turns on when the blade is on. So let me remove the blade plug up here. And insert a NPXL blade, so just a short test NPXL blade. So in there we have our stock V3 NPXL connector with the lens for it. So I've also configured it for blade detection, so when you insert it, it makes a sound. When you remove it, it makes another sound. So I'm gonna tighten that down. So I'm just going to go through the fonts that are loaded on the Saber. So it's kind of like a Rise of Skywalker graphics font.
If you will not stop, she will.
Ray Skywalker.
That's a scavenger font. There's a grayscale ignition redux font, possibly?
The might of the final order,
So this is the Palpatine font with a pretty long prion.
second sister.
Loudspeaker. I bumped up the volume settings on all of the Sabers to 2200 from, I think this one was set at 1600, so I bumped that up.
White.
Ignition.
Font with an indigo blade color. So on camera it probably shows it as purple, but it's the exact same indigo that we had before on the Clone Trooper Acolytes as well as the Goldorak Commando hilts.
Ancient warriors would mark themselves with another picture.
I'm Ray.
So that's cycling through all the fonts. So remove the chassis, pretty much the same as before, just unscrew the pommel. So that's the blade disconnection sound because the chassis disengaged, and just slide it out. Flip the kill switch, and then to remove the battery, try to pry from the sides. It worked this time. So on the config itself, I've included the config on the SD card, if you want to tweak it later. On the new config, I also made it so that you can't copy presets or accidentally change fonts, change blade styles, and create new presets. I think that was one of the issues you were having before, where you're just kind of operating through the Saber and you accidentally make a new preset and override previous settings. So I've disabled that, so we don't have to worry about those kind of glitches. Also updated to Proffie OS 7.8, which has the kind of false clash issues we were seeing before fixed. So yeah, all the other Sabers are pretty much configured the exact same way, and I'll have the config files on the SD cards for those as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. If not, I'll send this demo over to you as well as some pictures, and then we'll see about getting this shipped to you as soon as possible. Thank you.